question I get asked is boundaries. How do you define yours? How do you know what they are? I cannot tell you what yours are, but I can give you an example of mine. There's levels to it. There's levels to boundaries. There's the non-negotiables. These are the things that if you do, you will never see me again. You will not know where I am. You will not find me. Search you may, but you shall not find me. You can miss me with this behavior. Hitting children, animals, me, laying hands on anyone, violence, those things, stealing from me, something like that, we're not even going to have a negotiation. I will not even be explaining to you what you did wrong. That's a strong boundary. Non-negotiable. We step down. If somebody, a man, ever swears at me or raises his voice at me, I will tell him that it will not happen again. Or rules of number one will apply. They will never see me again. There are boundaries that are things like if you block my number, if you block me. Now, I know that I don't do behaviors that would lead someone to block me. I don't berate people. I give people space. I'm respectful, right? So you got to look at yourself first. If somebody blocks me, swears at me, treats me in any kind of disrespectful, inhumane way, I will talk to them once. I will try and understand why that happened. If they do it again, rules of number one apply. Now, there are some boundaries that some people have that I would not have. I let people in my life have space. If someone needs space and they came to me respectfully, said that, go for it. Go for gold, babes. Off you pop, have your space. Obviously, I'm going to monitor that. I'm going to monitor how much space they have. Do I really want them in my life? Is this something that I want to continue with myself? Because now I'm evaluating you. And remember, baby, that if somebody asks you for something, grant it for them. But now it's your turn to decide whether you want them in your life or not. Do you see what I'm saying? If somebody comes to me honestly, it's never a boundary break to me, and I can always work on it. But if you disrespect me, it's one conversation and then it's done. But some things don't bother me that bother other people. And for you, when you decide on your boundaries and your values is a whole different thing. Values is what you value in life, and you've got to find somebody who fits that. People ask me, why did I choose my husband? Because the values aligned. Let me tell you, our personalities weren't like this. We were like clashing because, you know, we're just so powerful personalities, but our values aligned. I'm like, I want this man because he sees how I see. We want to do the same things. We want to grow together. We want to do all these things, right? We can iron other things out. So decide on your values, the things that you want to progress, and decide on your boundaries. If someone breaks your boundaries, that needs to be the consequence. They need to know that there will be no ands, ifs, or buts about it.
How to set boundaries with a man. If you like being disrespected, go ahead and scroll away. If not, buckle up. Step number one, do not wait for the situation to occur before you address the situation. What do I mean by that? You need to do a good job of anticipating problems before they become problems. How do you anticipate problems? You listen to what people are saying, and when you start getting a better understanding of their personality, you're able to predict possible outcomes and situations that could occur based on the type of person they are. Step two, you also need to be self-aware and address situations that you know bother you before they start bothering you. Why do I say that? Well, we all have pet peeves. We all have things unique to us that it's like, okay, yeah, this might bother the regular person, but this one irks me to no end. This one will get me to jump off a bridge. This one is done. It's not just enough to talk about those things and tell them that it bothers you. You need to make it clear this is like a non-starter. This is not something that's like, oh, if it happens, I'll forgive you or whatever. You need to make it clear to them what your response will be when they cross that boundary. They need to understand why something bothers you, how it would bother you, and what your reaction will be if that boundary is crossed. Because they need to be clear on, okay, this is the line I shouldn't cross. This is why I shouldn't cross that line. If I do cross that line, this will be the reaction or response I get.
Here are 5 boundaries that high-value women set if they're dating to find their soulmate. If he asks you out on a last-minute date, you say, As much as I love spending time with you, last minute dates, they don't make me feel good. I really love it when a man asks me out in advance, plan the dates and everything. Is that something that you like to do? He invites you over to cook for you. You say, "Oh, thank you so much. That is so nice." And I don't go to a man's house that I'm just dating. It's really important to me that we continue to date outside in the public. He tries to sleep with you. This one is easy. I don't sleep with men who I'm not in a committed relationship. That's it. He keeps texting you, but he doesn't call you or ask you on real dates. To that, you say, I am not really into having a digital relationship. What I am in my life right now, I'm interested in a real relationship that is moving forward towards a permanent relationship. Is that something that you like to do? He keeps talking about his ex or keeps asking questions about your ex. To that, you say, I really don't enjoy talking about our exes. I really love to focus on us and the man who is in front of me. I don't want to think about your ex either. So I need that to stop. Is that something that you can do? The most important part about setting boundaries is that first and foremost, you respect your own boundaries. You can never ever find a man who respects your boundaries if you don't respect your own. And it's never about making a man respect your boundaries. It's never about making a man who doesn't want a real relationship. He just wants to text all day long, or he just wants to sleep with you to want a real relationship, a soulmate relationship. It's for you to set the boundary, ask if it works for them. If it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, you move on. So here were the just five examples. There are a lot more. If you want to hear more, let me know in the comments. And if you're new to my page, hello and welcome. My name is Shahrzad Parinde. I'm a certified dating and relationship coach. And since 2017, I have helped hundreds of women to find their soulmates, to be in happy, healthy, harmonious relationships with the love of their life. So if that is you, I hope that you're here to stay, and I'll see you in the next one.
Are you sick of having men never respect you or treat you like the princess that you know you are? Do you wish you had the tools to wave your magic wand around and finally get the men you're dating to actually treat you like you deserve to be treated? On today's show, we're going to discuss how to set boundaries so that men actually value and respect you. That way, you'll never have to tolerate a disrespectful man ever again. Instead, you'll have them coming correct from the very beginning. Oh, and for those of you who have a question about your own relationship or situationship that you want my advice on, please hop into the live show and ask your question there, where I'll be giving advice live on the show. Even if you don't got a question, I want you to see some of these crazy stories we got from all of these members of the Players Club. It's going to be a great show today. Make sure you join me there.
Here are 4 specific examples of what boundaries look like in dating. So the first one is around communication. My partner set this boundary very early on. Just because somebody has their phone in their hand doesn't mean that they owe you a conversation. Just because you text somebody doesn't mean that they have to respond in a specific time frame that you have set. I remember my partner, when I had texted him and I was trying to text throughout the day, he said, "Hey, I just want to let you know this is not a sign of my disinterest. I just have no interest in engaging in a digital relationship. I would much rather see you in person. Let's go on a date this week. How's Thursday?" He set that clearly. So if you want to set a boundary with someone, hey, during the hours of 10 to 6, I am not going to be on my phone, nor will I engage in a conversation. We can chat after. Or, hey, not really a big texter. I'd much rather spend time with you. Let me know what your availability looks like. We can have a call instead, but I really don't want to engage in a digital relationship. Don't worry, you'll text us the more you date. Fucking relax. Okay, number 2, a physical boundary. Now, that could look like something of, hey, yeah, I'm not interested in sleeping with you early on, or hey, I don't really like physical touch, or hey, please don't touch me like that. It doesn't make me feel comfortable. Whatever comes up for you. You don't need to preemptively strike that. And let me explain. I see this all the time. A girl will message a guy, "Oh, by the way, I'm not going to sleep with you on the first date, just so you know." And usually what ends up happening, they usually fuck on the first date. So you don't need to prep somebody for a boundary. What you do is you implement that boundary in the moment if it's something that you're not comfortable with. 3 are emotional boundaries. And so what that looks like is you don't need to share things with somebody before you're ready to share things with somebody. I didn't tell Tech Guy about my anxieties and my childhood traumas and shit until we were like 3 or 4 months into dating. And it was like, all right, time for you to know a little bit more about me. So if somebody asks a question of like, you know, hey, so what's going on with your family? You can say, listen, my family and I have a contentious relationship. It's not something I really want to discuss now. I'm happy to share more as I get to know you more, but it's something that's really personal to me and I just don't want to share that. That's it. You don't have to fucking share something with somebody if you don't want to and if you don't feel comfortable with. And 4 is social boundaries. What does that look like? Hey, I'm not interested in going out at 10 o'clock at night. Thanks so much. Or, hey, I'm not interested in going to that event. It doesn't really interest me. You have every right to tell somebody, no, I don't want to do something. And I know that might feel foreign if you've never said no or if you've never been allowed to say no, but now is the time to start practicing that so that you can maintain your boundaries and make sure you are showing up sustainably.
Okay, 5 boundaries that my husband and I set in our relationship. My name is Christina. I'm a certified dating and relationship coach. And listen, I understand that setting boundaries in a relationship are extremely, extremely difficult, but they are so needed for that long-term, fulfilling relationship success, especially if you want to be in a healthy relationship, okay? Boundary number 1, we do not compare our relationship to the relationships around us. Listen, I understand that not comparing your relationship to what you see around you, it feels impossible sometimes, especially with what you see on social media and your friends and what they're doing and what your family's doing. But your relationship is your relationship. Water the grass where you live, my love, because you have no idea what's actually going on behind closed doors in other people's relationships. So focus on your own relationship and how you can grow in your own relationship. Because comparing yourself to other people is just going to mess with your mindset, and then you're going to carry all of that anxiety and that stress and that comparison into your relationship, which is going to cause even more conflict. Boundary number 2, we do not threaten to end our relationship out of anger. Now listen, I came from an unhealthy, abusive relationship. So there was a time where whenever we would have conflict or we would argue, I would go into like immediate fight or flight mode, and I would threaten to end the relationship with my husband numerous times. I would be like, why don't we just break up? Why don't we just break up? But that was just my way of protecting myself. And I didn't really realize how much it was hurting my husband. And when I really sat back and thought about it, I didn't want to end that relationship. I was doing that just to protect myself, but it was just hurting me more than it was helping me. So we came up with a rule and a boundary that we really stick to is that do not threaten to end the relationship unless you really mean it. Number 3, we do not use our past mistakes or anything that's happened in the past against one another as ammunition when we are arguing. I understand, especially because I've had betrayal of trust in my relationship. And it's really, really difficult not to be like, well, you've done this before, right? When you're arguing and you're using it against your partner. But you guys, the past is the past. And we have to allow the past to heal and to move forward from it and to forgive and understand that we are all human and we are going to make mistakes. But if we continue to hold our partner's mistakes over their head as like bait, it's just an unhealthy habit. Number 4, we refrain from using phrases such as you always, you never, for once. This is just a really generalized statement that we typically do with one another when we're hurt or when we're angry or when we're frustrated. But when you do this, it really discredits all of the times that your partner probably has done the things that you're telling them they have never done before. That's hurtful. And it's just going to cause your partner to be defensive and to get angry and to get upset. It's going to save you the argument if you just really, really pay attention to how you're choosing to communicate your wants and your needs and what you're craving in your relationship in a different way than using those generalized statements. And lastly, we are both setting the boundary that we are both willing to grow together instead of growing apart. We both are very self-aware of the areas that we need to improve on individually. We understand that the individual relationship that you choose to have with yourself trickles into your relationship with your partner. We are not afraid and we do not shy away from doing our own growth and our own personal development and our own healing because it is so, so, so important to have a healthy relationship with yourself in order to create healthy relationships inside your life. Struggle with any of these areas, I honestly suggest starting with downloading my emotional intimacy workbook because it's a really good place to start when it comes to creating healthy communication, when it comes to conflict resolution, and when it comes to creating that deep emotional connection between you and your partner to really, really be able to set these boundaries without fear of the outcome on the other side because you're able to trust one another, you're committed to one another, and it's just a really, really good starting point.